Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Voices of Orion project. This is what I would call episode 1 of the Joy of Satan Virtual Temple Complex interview series. Today we have a very courageous man, and he's come to tell us his story about being a member in the Joy of Satan Project Ibis cult. For those of you who are not familiar with Project Ibis, I would refer you to some of my other videos about it. But to give you a little bit of a summary of what it is a joint extraterrestrial military program that involves the United States military, as well as militaries of other countries. It involves World Economic Forum and the elites to their very core. It is a program that is an offshoot or a continuation of a very ancient extraterrestrial program involving the creation of religions and cults and belief systems. And a virtual temple complex is essentially what it sounds like. It is a new variation or new version of ancient megalithic temple complexes that were built by extraterrestrials to enslave humanity with false religious belief systems and to hijack the creator or the concept of it and to take away our connection with God and replace it with them. So that's what it is, and I'm not going to hold this up any longer. So you have the floor, Bob.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bob, and I'm an ex-member of the Joy of Satan. I will tell you today that I have joined the group known as the Joy of Satan in late of 2016, beginning of 2017. This is not the first time that I became a Satanist, that I did a dedication to Satan. I did one previously when I was a child. I was 13 at that time when I did my first dedication. I was not affiliated with I was not affiliated with any satanical group. I just did the dedication, and that was that. But I will tell you later how weird my adventure was. Well, let's talk. I did find out the Joy of Satan in the beginning of 2015, late 2014. I searched exposed Christianity to find and read about it because I had questions about Christianity. A lot of the story in the Christian Bible and in general make no sense. So I read about, and then I found the link to the Joy of Satan. I read about on the Joy of Satan. I did find out even in my own country, because I'm not an American. I'm from Eastern Europe. I did find out a link into my country. I did not dedicate it, as I say, until I was like late 2016, the beginning of 2017. I was lurking on the forums of my country for at least kind of a year, so to speak. And yeah, a lot of weird experiences. I did a dedication ritual in late of 2016. All was good before, the bad stuff started to happen to me. I had meditate. The meditation were working. My third eye was opening, vibrating thought in my third eye.
Hey, I have a question for you, Bob.
Tell me.
We talked about some things earlier a few days ago, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if maybe you could elaborate on what led up to you joining the Joy of Satan. For example, in my case, I had a lifelong, I had a life full of paranormal events and psychic events, and I had an allergic reaction to the allergy drug Singulair, which then, after I was released from the hospital, I started having empathic and telepathic psychic experiences for about 3 weeks. And then at the end of that, I was told that I needed to find a group of other people like me and that they were on the internet. I searched for 2 years, and then through subconscious psychic programming and eventually networking, I was able to find the Joy of Satan, where I was recruited by the group's founder, Andrew Harrington. Was there anything that you would like to share in regard to what led up to this? Like something like, for example, things that took place in your early years and so forth. So I'll let you go. Take care.
Well, what led to me to join the Joy of Satan, honestly, the first time when I made a dedication to Satan, I was very young. The first time. I was not affiliated with any satanical group. I didn't know any, I didn't search satanical group. I just searched how to dedicate it to Satan when I was a child. Still very young, didn't read anything about demons. Was
there
13,
something that actually got you interested in the occult, or was it a version of Christianity or some other religion, like your upbringing?
Honestly, I was between the ages of 10 to 14 when I was at school. And our religious teacher, talked about Satan, how he's a bad guy, how he did all of this. So I started to question myself. If God creates everybody, right? God of Christianity created everybody. All of us are the children of God. We're all his creation. Satan is also a child of God. So I was saying, why God created somebody knowingly, because God is all powerful and all knowing and all present and all powerful. What creates somebody, a child of him, to transform them in an evil person and then to punish that person? I was thinking that, man, Satan has a rough life. I mean, his dad hates him. All this stuff that I didn't consider unfair towards this person, this character known as Satan eventually. Because again, if he is real and God is real and Satan is real, then I kind of feel sorry for Satan, because he didn't choose to become evil. Like God ordained him his life before even he was created, right? He decided beforehand Satan is going to be like this, because God has decided for each and one of us that our life is going to be in a certain way, and nothing will change that plan eventually. So,
Well, I just want to interrupt you real quick. In the experience that I had, and with many MILABs, for example, they're put into homes that are, dysfunctional. So you're incarnated into a family where you have a lot of problems, and that's done intentionally. It's done to, to hold you back, in order to stop you from waking up. It's more of a control mechanism than anything else. And that has to do with Project Surrogate and so forth. And what you just described with the Satan archetype, it's more like the rebel archetype. And what I noticed is when I went into the Joy of Satan, when I found it, is that one of the big promises that they make to their members or their prospective members is that once you join and you do this ritual, you become part of the group. Satan's
you're protected by Satan.
Right.
You're protected by Satan. You
Exactly.
have a guardian demon. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. No psychic attack. The enemy angels are not going to attack you or touch you because you're with Satan. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
So was that your experience? Was that what you were experiencing emotionally and mentally when you found the website and read through all of the propaganda? Because also, too, you have the exposing Christianity aspect of this, which all of us seem to go through this period where we're questioning mainstream religion, especially if we're indoctrinated in it. So was that your experience, or were you going through something different? So I'll let you explain.
Well, I never really believe in Christianity in the same way like other people believe. I mean, I would listen to my grandma when I was a child, and she used to tell me a story about God and explain to me how God manifested in our world and how he created a story for everybody, like how he ordained to be your life that's going to be. and we should pray to God for good, to get good in our life. And I asked myself logically, if God decided that life should be in a certain way, and no matter how hard I'm praying to God, nothing will change, then why I'm praying to God in the first place? God is not going to change his mind about anything. He decided from the beginning, this is how things are going to go, and nothing is going to change. No matter how much I'm praying to him, I'm asking, I'm begging, nothing. For everybody, in each human out there. If God decided that you're going to have good in life, you're going to have good in life. If God decided that you're going to have bad in life, you're going to have bad in life, and nothing will change that, you know? But my grandma see differently. You see, if you have bad in life, you could pray to God, and you will avoid all these bad things in life, which it was kind of a little bit odd to me, but I was like, I don't really believe that. And I was a child when I used to ask these questions. My grandma used to be baffled when I asked her if God decided to give us a life in a certain way, and nothing will change no matter how we pray to him, then why we pray to him in the first place? And my grandma was baffled, and she didn't know how to answer me. But no, the reason why first time when I was a child at 13, I dedicated my soul to Satan, was because at that time, when I was between the ages of kind of 10, 11 to 14, I was in school. I was excessively bullied by my peers, and I could not take it anymore. I was saying, you know what? Maybe Lucifer understands, because I'm alone. Nobody likes me. Nobody cares for me. When I go home and I tell my parents about this, they don't care. There has to be somebody out there that I could share this and tell my story. And I was thinking, not maybe Satan, because he has the same life, kind of the same life like me, right? His parents or his family didn't like him. Other people didn't like him. He will understand. And I decided to dedicate. I searched dedication, Satanism. I remember I was a child. I didn't know very well English like I know today. I didn't know or understand English. I ended up on a YouTube channel. There was a guy today goes by Indigo Nation on YouTube, but at that time he used to have like a haircut with green or blue hair. Used to have makeup on his face. He looked like those rock stars from the 70s and 80s with the makeup. And there was a dedication show. I didn't know that dedication ritual was from the Joy of Satan at that time. I didn't know about the Joy of Satan or anything. So I dedicated my soul to Satan. I was, you know what? If nobody wants me, maybe Satan wants me. I dedicated my soul. I was 13, and I decided to summon a demon. And unfortunately, I summoned the demoness Lilith. I found the sigil online. There was a couple of people, a man and a woman. They used to have a lot of piercings. They both wear glasses. I don't know where they are or their website, but they're about demonology. They talked about how they had sex with demons, sex with Lilith, and they'll talk about that. It was great and it was amazing, And I was like, I was a teenager, 13, 14. I was saying, you know what? Let me try to do this. Big mistake in the first place. Big mistake.
Yeah, I want to interrupt you for just a moment to let everybody know that what we're dealing with here under this Project Ibis Joint ET military program isn't just the Joy of Satan. When I was a member of the Joy of Satan, I did a lot of research into other groups, and there were other forums around at the time. There wasn't many like the Joy of Satan. It wasn't that together and organized. But what I found was that the stories that these people had were almost identical to what was going on inside the Joy of Satan, meaning when they contact these entities, that they would become very personal. Oftentimes, the entity would claim that they were a spouse, a loved one from a previous existence, a past life, an ET life, whether it be human or extraterrestrial, it didn't seem to matter. And it was always tied to Samaria and Egypt in some way, a lot of times. So what he's describing is not something exclusive to the Joy of Satan. The Project Ibis program is a large umbrella program. And when it comes to the creation of cults and New Age and occult belief systems, it's widespread. It isn't just isolated to one particular group. The virtual temple complexes can be found all over the internet if you know what you're looking for. And some are very hard to identify because they don't look like an organized effort to create a virtual temple complex. So go ahead, Bob.
So as I was saying, I was summoning the demoness Lilith. I draw the sigil on paper. I draw a little bit of my blood on the sigil, and I burn the sigil, because that's what they were saying to do on their website. So I've waited, nothing happens, of course, but weird things start to happen in my home. Behind the doors in my house start to open when there was no wind or no windows open for the wind to came in. And there was always a presence that was watching me, Now I didn't see anybody, just I could feel a presence. So after like a month and a half, I was in my bed at night. My parents were asleep, and I asked this person, "Who are you? Please show yourself to me." Because I was like, I didn't know who it was. Why somebody's bothering me? So in my room, energy started to form, and this young lady was a young lady. Say, I don't know, looked like between 16, 17 to maybe 20. 22. She was a young lady, 5'6", 5'7", to say the least. Long black hair, dressed in a white dress. And it appeared to me like an astral projection, sort of like an astral projection, and was levitating in my room. And it was a lot of cold in my room at that time. And she was pissed off at me, She was angry. I was scared because I never experienced that before. I never know who that person was, and I was terrified. She was laughing. I remember. I mean, at that point she left, but she was laughing. I remember. I mean, at that point she left, but I was scared, man, and I was swearing to myself after that day, what? I'm not going to have anything to do with magic. I'm not going to do anything with the occult. It's evil. It's bad all over, And I didn't touch anything about the occult, Didn't try anything. Didn't try astral projection. Didn't try anything. I was too scared. But yeah, the first reason why I wanted to become a Satanist was to at least take my revenge or to protect myself from my bullies in school.
Okay, so this is all taking place when you're around 13. This is when you saw Lilith.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when I saw Lilith.
I just wanted to inject one thing. When I talked to the other members, because I mentioned that I had extensive, almost I wouldn't say every day, but there was periodic paranormal experiences and psychic events. A lot of the people that I talked to had an event in their life. It wasn't something. You're the first person that's actually did something to summon an entity, but others had a spontaneous experience where when they were a child, they would see one of these entities. And then later, when they got involved with the Joy of Satan, that same entity would come back into their life, to be a guardian, which they weren't really a guardian. They're more like it's like more like letting in a serial rapist or murderer into your life. But in most cases, so I just wanted to mention that. So go ahead and please keep talking.
So as I was saying, I summoned Lilith, and I was terrified. And I swear to myself that I'm not going to touch magic ever again. I did see Satan too, but the way that it showed to me, I didn't summon him or anything. I didn't use his sigil. I didn't draw anything. I asked myself, what? If you are the devil and you are real, can you please show yourself to me? That's all I ask. I didn't ask him disrespectfully or anything, asking him to give me money or power or anything. I just wanted to know, are you real? You are the devil, you are Satan. Are you real? And this presence started to astral projection again came to through my window, and the way that it felt, the astral projection was different. Was like a presence of a human being in the center where the heart chakra is. It felt like a ball of energy, a warm ball of energy, and the presence of the out form of the body of a person, the energetical body. And that all I felt about that person was like, wow. I was amazed about it because that was an experience that, you know.
So you felt their energy, okay? Now, and this had physiological effects, I'm going to assume, because that's what happened to me. I felt for about 5 days after that initial experience. This is prior to actually joining, was when I made the decision to, and I was typing an email to Andrea Harrington, which is High Priestess Maxine in the group. I had an entity come in the room and actually touch me. And it looked like heat coming off the pavement. It was like a silhouette of a man that had a headdress on that I couldn't make out I could make out the shape. It sounded like a rain stick as it moved. And yeah, I actually, for 5 days, I had this emotion, well, not an emotional, but it was an energetic high from it. So, and that's something that they talk about in the Joy of Satan. And I've had ET contact and so forth. But this isn't something that happens when you're in the presence of extraterrestrials. It's something that takes place when they're attempting to create a physiological and emotional impact on you, so that it's more there to convince you that you're in the right place, that you need to be part of this. So I just wanted to add that. So go ahead, Bob.
Well, it showed to me, it didn't spoke to me or anything like that, because again, I just wanted to see if he's real, and that's it. Then a few years passed by. I didn't do any magic, nothing, yoga. I didn't know that you could do yoga to improve your psychic abilities, or that you could have psychic abilities or anything like that. So right around the end of 2014, the beginning of 2015, I started to search exposing Christianity, because I was still in school at that time. Tried to search a lot about it, to learn a lot about their writing there, that everything that they stole from stories from Egypt, from Sumeria, and all sorts of places. They stole the stories. And so right around the corner, I found Joy of Satan, but in my country. And it was bizarre. It's like, whoa, there is something like that in my country. I didn't know that at that time, because this is later. It's like 2016, 2015, 2016. I will read the website. They were talking about Satanism, covens of witches, kundalinis, yoga. They were talking about Islam, Christianity, talking about the paganism, all sorts of stuff, demons, or the website. I was not really like impressed to join them immediately, because I was like, I had the previous experience, with someone in Lilith. I was like, I don't know, man. I had it already, a bad experience. I'm not going to join so easily. I'm not going to buy me so easily to join. I'll be on the forums. I'll read. I will not type or write anything. I'll just read on the forums. And there are a lot of people with a lot of problems that will came in. Most of the people in there will just tell you to go and read the website. If you had a question, go and read the website. If you had a problem, you should just go to Satan directly and to ask him for help. The usual stuff. You'll not get an answer from most of the people. These were like older men, older women, but there were just a few older men and older women on the forums. They'll be like, most of the time, at that time, teenagers, kids, young kids, teenagers. Very few adults will be on the website. Most of the time will be the moderators, which there will be like in my country one or two, maybe three moderators, but I remember just there were like one or two at that time, a man and a woman. Um, but yeah, they will not help you very much other than like the meditation, the cabal that they talk about, the runes and the magic, the use of lama beads. Um, you'll not get too much help about that in your life. You just, if you need help, you go to Satan. You don't have intermediaries, like they say.
Yeah, the
If you
forums
want
are there
something,
more or less to kind of reinforce the belief system. And one of the things that I noticed when I was there, which was quite evident, was that when you began having problems with the contact, you couldn't talk about it. And
oh yeah, yeah,
it's because, as you know, what the excuse was, is that it's not Satan, it's the angels that are doing it to you. It's the
yeah,
enemy, because they had this. See, what I need to explain to everybody is that the joy of Satan, the concept, the composite belief system or theology, is an inversion of the New Age movement. It advertises and sells itself as the inversion of it. And so when you get there, one of the ploys as you go into this is not, now you have exposing Islam, you have that, because that part of the website wasn't available when I was there, but exposing Christianity was. And a lot of the writings also catered towards people who had been through the New Age, I call it the New Age cesspool, but they've been through the New Age movement, and they didn't find what they were looking for there, just like they didn't find what they were looking for in mainstream religion. So this was a place where if you didn't find what you needed, wherever else you looked, you found yourself in this group. And they were supposed to be the place that you needed to be. And for me, it's because of the programming that I was going through within the Ibis program, is that by the time I got to the joy of Satan and found it, I was overwhelmed with emotion that I had found home. That was the main emotion that I had. It was because I had looked for 2 years. I've been programmed to do that, and here I was. And it was all the promises in the world, the things were going to get better. And for a little bit, it felt like that. So I just wanted to add that in. So go ahead, Bob.
yeah. They don't help a lot other than like if you hit a hard time or anything like that, you ask the demons or go and meditate, go back to meditate. If you're a person that is under attack, oh, it's just your mind, or you attack yourself, you invite attacks. They even write on the forums that some of the attacks are just your mind working against you. Like you think about the attacks and the attacks start to happen. I was like, kind of hard to believe that, because nobody's programmed to fuck themselves over. Like you need kind of a horrible life to go to the point that you hate yourself and that your mind start to program itself or be programmed to attack your own self, in any form,
Yeah.
like mentally, physically, spiritually. So I don't believe that.
Well, I think what they were referring to is, because I remember I would go through periods where I would feel like I made a big mistake, and it would be like, what if this is just a deception? And then they would play on that. They were actually behind that, making you kind of amplifying your emotions. And but all of this really is a form of mind control. So and that's really what you're describing. It's a way to get you in and then keep you quiet about what's going on with you. And if you notice, Bob, there would be a tremendous amount of members who did not participate in the forums. And we would always wonder what happened to these people. Did they leave and just leave their account up, or were they still a member, and what was going on with them? And I remember one particular day where somebody posed that question to Maxine, the creator of the group, and she said that even though there's many people here that are members that don't participate in the forum actively, they're still out in the world doing work for Satan. So that was the answer. And so yeah, I'll let you take the floor back over. It's all yours.
That was on the forums. As about my life, I was meditating, I was doing protection, but it kind of fell off. I don't know if people know about like building your own astral temple, for example, when they told us on the forums that you could meditate in, practice to awaken your kundalini, your chakras. So yeah, I did build the astral temple, where it looked like a pyramid, and inside I had like a bed, the usual stuff, the normal stuff, a place to meditate, not too much, So I meditated and I was thinking about Satan. And then in my astral temple, the same being, that with many years in the past came to me when I asked if, are you real? When I asked if Satan is real, came to me. And we started to meditate. I had the special place created in my astral temple for Satan. We started to meditate. I was thinking about him, man, we are like brothers. Because I was reading before that, I think with a few days, on the forums in America, on the American forums more precisely, something written by Higher Priest Mage Son, 666. He wrote about like Satan is like our big brother. He's here to protect us. And I was thinking the same thing to this being in front of me, that he's like my brother, And when I think that, the being in front of me picked up on, and he came towards me, Now, not with malicious intent or anything like that. He just came towards me, and he came to me and he gave me in my astral temple. He gave me a sword, so to speak. It's kind of like a dagger, so to speak. He put it into my left arm, and then he turned his back on me. He turned his back on me, and and then for a while I was thinking that, man, that's so cool for a little while. And then I was thinking in my mind, it popped an idea. What if this is an enemy angel, Because I was thinking to myself, that could be an enemy angel, because we are told that enemy angels are not different than the deities that we have on the G of Satan. They're the same people, so to speak. They're the same species, right? They're the same species, and
they're the Anunnaki. Is the way this theology is constructed, is you're not really dealing with the Satan, so to speak, and Christianity and Islam and Judaism. You're actually dealing with Ea and Enki, and Enki is being called Satan because Satan, actually Enki in this case, is the adversary of the false religions, according to the theology of the Joy of Satan. The false religions are they refer to them as the big three, which is Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. And the whole premise here is that the old gods are coming back to liberate humanity and to take the world back over and make it a better place for Satan's or Enki's, children that he created. I think that's where we're going with this next. And I just want people to know that we're not really dealing with a typical traditional satanic cult here. This isn't the LaVeyan Satanism of Anton LaVey.
Oh, yeah.
It's not theistic Satanism as it's normally depicted. This is a new variation under Project Ibis where they're incorporating the satanic theme, but they're combining it with the story of Zechariah Sitchin, the clay tablets from Samaria. The Anunnaki story here is being exemplified and is being heavily reinforced within this composite theology. So here you are in a situation, you're having this astral psychic experience, and you're there with the Satan character who's actually Enki or Ea, which is the same entity. So I just want people to get that in their mind before they visualize this. So go ahead, Bob, and tell us everything that happened.
Well, he turned his back on me. He was on the other side. He was not far away in my astral temple, you know. The presence in the real world was in front of me. He was like a few centimeters away from in the real world in the astral form. And in my astral temple, he was a few feet away from me. And I was thinking in my mind, pop, and a thought in my mind was like, is this an enemy angel? Are they trying to like recruit me or something? And I was thinking, you know what? If I die, at least I die for a good cause, and I'll take one of these enemy angels with me. And I draw the sword from my left hand that he put the sword in, and I attacked. And then, boom! Immediately he turned against me. Now at that time, I didn't understand why he did that in the first place. Why this being with blonde hair that I call Satan, he did that to me. And what was the reason behind it? I'll find that years later why. But he was pissed off at me, and he put his hands on in the astral planes, in my astral temple, on my t-shirt. He was keeping me up high, you know. He was pissed off at me. He looked angry at me, you know, very upset. And I was, this was my mistake, honestly, because this is what started to have like bad things happening to my life till this day. Why I had that. And I started to mock the being and tell him, you know what, why don't you kill me? I tried to say that, why don't you kill me, you know? Come on, kill me. Come on, do it. You know, I was like cocky and arrogant. Now, he didn't kill me or anything like that. He dropped me down, and then it left, you know? Now, I didn't understand what was this all about. I found out years later from a Satanist that is in the same group in my country. Now, how I find that Satanism was by a mistake that I did in my country. By a mistake, I pop into a live stream that was about bullying in my country, and I started to talk bad things about like my ex-bullies from my school, and what they did to me. This was like around 2019, 2020. They started to lie about me on the internet. They started to have people from Hollywood. You will have people all around the globe talking about me, talking that I'm some pedophile, some horrible stuff they talked about. I don't remember what they talked about, because one of my friends at that time told me that they crucified me. You know, he used the expression, they are crucifying you.
Who was doing this specifically? Were these other members of the Joy of Satan group?
These were not Joy of Satan members. These were honestly just my ex-colleagues from school.
Okay, so you ran into these people and they were on a forum?
No, they don't run a forum. I just pop into a live stream about bullying in my country, and I start to drop their names in there. And by accident, they watched that live stream, and again, I didn't use nice words.
So you gave them their first and last name, and they identified. They're like, okay, this is this guy Bob, and okay, I understand.
Yeah. And then they find out who I am, because again, who's going to talk about this other than the guy that we did him wrong?
You must have had some serious problems growing up, because normally these things kind of fade away in people's minds. So there obviously was still some animosity there. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to believe it is.
For 4 years, I was tortured. For 4 years, I was tortured by those people, with bullying, with being afraid to go to school. I was happy when Saturday and Sunday will come along. I was not happy to see their faces, honestly.
Right.
So I did that on live stream, and they told me, you'll see what's going to happen to you. And they started to lie about me, and I asked them, hey, what the fuck did you say about, sorry for the swearing, what did you say about me? what did you say about me? Why do you care? You know, one of the girls told me, why do you care? You know, and I was upset because I was like, man, even after all these years, when I finally tell the truth about these people, they are still beating me down. They're still
Yeah.
the people that at the end are beating me down. And I was not happy about this. I was not happy about anything that was happening. But what I did in that live stream is that I dropped out a name of a Satanist. That was my mistake. Of a Satanist from the group in my country. I didn't know him other than the name from the forum that he had. But the way that I dropped him was not with bad intention on anything. The thing that I did was ask a question in that live stream was, what type of a person behaves that badly toward their friends, you know? Because he said on the forum that he had a friend in my country, and what he did was he abandoned his friend because Satan says so, you know? Oh, you don't believe in Satan, then I abandon you as my friend. You're not my friend anymore. And I was like, that's kind of fucked up. Sorry for the things. Like,
Well, that's what you get when you're in a cult. That's the cult belief system, is that when somebody defects from the cult, then you have to turn against them. They're no longer part of the group. You violated the continuity of it. So in other words, what you're saying is you gave the name of this person and they found out, and of course they saw that you weren't, I guess you weren't in the Joy of Satan, or you weren't a Satanist.
No, I was not. I was not a Satanist anymore at that point, because what happened in 2017, after what I told you about, like the
incident with Enki, where you had the sword.
The incident with Enki. What happened is that I started to have attacks, because what he did to me before he left, he had an orb of energy inside in his hand, and he shoved that orb of energy towards my heart chakra, you know, in the place of my heart chakra, and my body started to feel like hot and cold in the same time. I don't know how to explain. My bones started to pulsate with energy from the inside of the bone to the outside. I could feel from the head to the toes. I could feel that energy, and was bizarre. Was very weird. And for an entire year, I would feel my bones being like I cannot explain. They were soft, they were soft. I don't know how to explain better. You're kind of soft, you know. But my body felt.
Were they easy to break? Did you have like fractures?
Yeah. No, not fracture, but yeah. I guess if somebody tried to break my bones, I think they would have an easier time at that time to break my bones than today.
Yeah, I want to inject one thing real quick so people understand what he's talking about and he's getting ready to discuss. This was, and this happened to me, and it's happened to several other people that I've talked to. Now, not everyone's experience in the Joy of Satan or these cults are the same. But what I found was, in a lot of cases, there would be a situation that would come up that would be engineered into the experience by the ETs, that you would reach a point where the contact would turn from positive or semi-positive to very negative. Oftentimes, they would state something where you would blame yourself for it. And in my case, that wasn't the situation. It just turned negative. But in your case, they engineered a scenario where you're having this face-to-face interaction with Enki, and you suspected that he was an enemy Nordic angel and when I say enemy Nordic angel, I'm referring to, because in the theology, it's the inversion of the New Age movement. Therefore, you're dealing with the enemies from the Galactic Federation of Light and the Galactic Federation of Worlds. So they've got this inverse going on. So now you suspect that this Enki is a deceiver, one of these angels, and so now
I didn't say.
I'm sorry. Can you explain?
No. The thing that I saw is that I was thinking, man, this could be an angel. This could be one of those guys from the Federation, because the way that they will describe to us will be like Nordics, enemy Nordics, they would look like our deities. Then you will have reptilians. Then you will have the gray aliens, and the way that will be like will be the enemy Nordics, the reptilians, and then the gray aliens. The last will be like down there in the pyramid. Like up there will be the enemy Nordics. In the
Right.
middle will be the reptilians, and then down there will be the gray aliens. You know, the backbone of the army, so to speak.
Right. It's a
The enemy
hierarchy.
army. Yeah, yeah. Uh, what I talked about, and the way that the Satanists found me was the fact that my colleagues from the past, like the people that I was in school with in the
Mhm.
past, they come forward, they presented pictures with my face, where I live, because I didn't say nice things about these people. I just say awful stuff. And again, I feel sorry that I say those things because I'm not happy that I say something awful. It's just I was upset that certain things happened to me and I didn't understand why.
Hey,
You
how
know,
old were you when this took place?
uh, I don't know. I think
Well, you mentioned being 28 now, so I was just trying to get people.
20,
Okay.
20, I guess 20.
So you're not
I was
far out
not.
of the school experience. So this is relatively fresh. See, these
Yes,
are open
relative fresh.
wounds. These are open emotional
Yes.
wounds that haven't healed. Okay, so that explains
Uh,
why the animosity was still fresh. Okay, so go ahead.
um, but yeah, I talked about the whole country was against me. You know, they call me a rapist. They call me all sorts of stuff. Uh, you know, they lied about me. And I was asking, "What did you say about me?" One of the girls, and I say, "Why do you care?" You know, she told me, "Why do I care?" You know, these are not Joy of Satan members in any way, shape, or form. These are normal people that at some point in my life, in their life, I was colleagues with them in school, and now I am not. I don't see them anymore. But yeah, that happened. And the way that the Satanists found me, who I am, and where I live, was that a picture of my face started to float around the internet. You know, on Reddit, on all these sorts of platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and a lot of people wanted to beat me down. I even had been assaulted on the street at that time by these people and other people on the street. You know, it
Really? Okay.
was an unpleasant experience. At the end of the day, I was like, wow. So these were other people feel like, and I was innocent, man. The things that they did to me was bad. Again, what I wanted to say is that I meet the Satanist where he lives because I was like, didn't know where he lives. Again, I don't care where the Satanists live. I don't follow them. I don't care about their life in the sense that I follow people or anything like that. You know, other than to know that people are okay, that is enough for me. I don't need to know where you live, your real name, where you are from. If you are okay and you are happy as a person, that's all that matters in the end. But I didn't know that it was by accident that I tell like a story where what happened on the live stream, and it just matched with the place that he lives, like the street where he lives. It was the same name that, unfortunately, by accident, I
Mhm.
say that I didn't even know that was the name of his street. So I meet this guy and he told me, man, we are going to curse you, man. We're going to destroy you. You know, he threatened me.
No,
And I was
these
like,
are were
whoa.
these members of the Joy of Satan as well?
No, this was the Satanist that I was talking about. This
Okay,
was
no,
the
they're
Satanist that
it's just independent Satanists. They may be
no, no, no,
involved with
no,
some.
no. This was a Satanist that was with, and he still to this day is
Okay,
with J of Satan.
okay.
Is the same Satanist that I was talking about. Because this is like the only Satanist that I meet the first time from the J of Satan.
That's the
Other
first
than
time you've met somebody in person, and because it's a virtual temple complex and it's online. Yeah, it there isn't a lot of face to face interaction with these people. I understand.
and is not encouraged by the J of Satan to meet other people in general. It's not safe. They said it, and I agree with them. It's not safe to meet strangers from an online group in
Now
the real
you,
world,
you know,
especially if it's a Satanist. Yeah.
there's a reason also for that. It's a kind of underlying is that one of the things that, and it's been, and you spoke about it earlier, is the lack of connectivity between people. What I found is when the contact became abusive, I was trying to form networks of people to where we could support each other. And what I found is that nobody wanted to do this because they thought that if they got away from other people involved in it, that the problems would end. So
I
as
could
people started
understand.
to as people started to drop off like flies and leave the group, because we had a spiritual warfare group as a subgroup of the main group,
Mhm.
there wasn't any cohesiveness between us. And I noticed that when I tried to form those connections, because I befriended a woman who lived in my state about 80 miles from me, that the contact became a lot more abusive because they wanted to isolate each and every member. When the contact became negative, they wanted you isolated and all to their self. So that was the experience that I had. So when they tell you not to meet others, yeah, of course, it's common sense. But at the same time, you would think, because you hear about, we're going to form covens, and it was like, that was like this unachievable goal, because it was never about that. It's about doing harm to a certain specific group of people that they're recruiting into this group.
Oh
So
yeah.
what I'd like you to talk about a little bit is to go back to what happened after that incident with Enki, and
Um,
and if you could elaborate a little bit about your mother after you've done that, because like I've told a lot of people, MILABs and people who go through abductions and have these experiences are usually put together in families. So so if you want to talk a little bit about your mother, that's okay. But if you have something else that you want to get into that's more important, feel free to
no,
talk about that. But I'd like to get back to the Enki situation and how things went bad for you, as well as some of the stuff that we talked about in our last discussion, where there was a lot of consequences to getting involved in this, such as health problems, psychic torture, a lot of other things. So that's what I'd really like to get into today.
okay, I'll talk about my mother, but I want to say something before.
Sure,
What
go
that
ahead.
Satanist took, when I meet him the first time properly, I was working at my job that I still work today, and that allows me, I live in a city, and that allows me to move around the city. And the respective individual Satanist that is with the J of Satan, call it at my job for an intervention at his home. And I met him, I talked to him, and he told me something very interesting, because at that time in 2017, 18, on the J of Satan forums, they talked about how the god Enlil has betrayed Father Satan, Satan, or
Right.
Enki, Ea, has betrayed him. And I was like, man, I'm so sorry that that happens to Satan and his family, because I understand how bad family fights are, because I live in a kind of tumultuous family, a family with a lot of problems,
Right.
and it's not fun. It's not fun. It's not like people see these soap operas and it's like, oh, this is so fun. No, no. And I was feeling sorry for Enlil, because I'm like, man, I hope he gets back on the good side with his brother, because that's not fun to be at odds with your own brother. So forward into the future, I talked with the Satanist and I told him, man, I'm really sorry what happened to the God Enlil, between the God Enlil and Father Satan, with that betrayal. And he laughed at me. You don't know, don't you? The Satanist told me, you don't know, don't you? And I was like, no, what am I supposed to know? And he was laughing mischievously, the Satanist. He was laughing at me. Aren't you the Lord of the Flies? And I was like, I don't understand. You are Enlil. He told me, you are Enlil. And I was like, how am I supposed to be Enlil? I am me. How am I supposed to be a god? And he explained to me that I'm like a fragment of that god, born onto the earth. And I was like created by Father Satan to temper Enlil behavior. And because I was like the opposite of what Enlil is, he's like uh, a god of the wind. And, I'm like exactly the opposite in behavior. Um, Also, the way that he speak about, there was a spirit around him the way that I see the spirit was like this small being made out of light. I cannot describe them otherwise. This was not like a being the way that you'll see a normal person will be like
Right.
5 or 6 feet tall, or no. It looked like more like some sort of a 10-year-old, 11-year-old form that was floating and was made out of light. The same way that you'll see like a small gray alien.
Hmm.
You know, I don't know how to describe. When I had it, my third eye open, well, no, not necessarily open, but close to opening. The way that I see around me was this being made out of light, small, that was following me around. You know,
I want to ask you about your third eye real quick. Did you have because for most of us, it's usually the same situation. The third eye will open up at certain times, but you don't have control over it. In other words, if you want to use it for a positive purpose or negative purpose, whatever the purpose may be, you can initiate that astral sight, but it opens up at certain times under the control of other entities. Was that your experience as well?
well. I guess if I would start to meditate without the dedication, I could have opened my third eye much easier. I guess without having all these attacks. I guess I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm mistaken. But the way that you describe, I guess it did happen, but that started to happen to me after the encounter with Enki, when my third eye
Okay.
will go insane. I will not be shown, but I would feel like in my forehead, in the middle of my forehead, I'll feel like a ball of energy. You know, I cannot
Hmm.
describe otherwise. But I'll not necessarily see auras in people. You know, for me, the way that my third eye was maybe 25% was open from the 100%, because it will take me, it was more hard to look into other people auras. For example, I have seen aura to a person before, the aura presence of a person, but that was I need to focus a lot, and now I cannot, because my chakras are all gone. I have an entity attached to my body, uh, my head, where my chakras are, my spine, my legs, my hands. To my hand, what they did to my hands to make sure that I don't have energy, because you know that if you put your hands together, you could feel like a magnetic field, like two opposite magnets meeting two magnets meeting each other and will repel each other a little bit. I cannot feel that anymore, that energy, because the way that they did to me, energetically speaking, they caught me in my energy flow into my hands. They put it a rod of iron, but in the astral planes, not in the real world.
Right, right.
Through my yoni, through men, the yoni is between their testicles and the anus. That's the yoni at men.
Now, for
And they
those of you wondering what he's saying, sorry to interrupt, but these are what you call etheric implants. They can take any form or shape they want, or they could just be a blob of energy. Usually, when the victim sees these things, they'll be depicted as a certain shape or a certain design, and it's to have a desired effect psychologically and emotionally in the victim. But these are just energetic attachments, is what he's describing. That's why he said it's in the astral, not in the physical. So anyway, go ahead, Bob.
they told me that they put these implants inside of my body. They put like a road that go through my yoni, and it go through my body until my head, I guess, as much as I remember. And they started to destroy my chakras, to work on them. I could feel like where my yoni is, they'll work with some things that some sort of device, I guess, that you'll see, like the needles to the acupuncturist, if you know the needle of an acupuncturist.
Right.
Acupuncturist. They will pinch me that place. I will feel like my uh, energy field will be drained through that place. They will do work on my testicles. That will do. Um, on my legs too. They will do that on my spine, around my solar plexus chakra. The Satanist told me, I asked him, you know what? Why did Satan torture me so much? If he wants me dead, why doesn't he kill me already? Because I was like, if he hates me so much as his brother, why he not kill me already? He told me, like, you are hard to kill. And I'm like, how I'm hard to kill? It's like, how am I hard to kill? If makes no sense. He told me that I lived many lifetimes with him, and the thing about the test with the sword, that test was not for me, because that was a test. That was a test for Enlil, actually, as much as I understand.
Right.
Was a test for him, because what they told me is that before I incarnated into a human being, Satan sent a mission on the earth, and he explained to everybody that this mission is going to be very hard. It's not going to be easy. You could be abandoned forever, as much as I understand what people have described to me. That guy described it to me, and he told me that he wanted to see, because he told me that Enlil choose his family when he is awake, when he knows who he is, but would you still choose your family if you don't remember them? And this is what's
Hey,
kind of weird.
I wanted to ask you something. One of the common experiences that I had, and this is also common in the MILAB community as well, is that oftentimes people will be told that they're a pagan god, like either a soul fragment of that pagan god, or
I
the
think I'm
full
a soul fragment.
or the full incarnation of that individual. Now, because of remote viewing studies, we know that with the Farsight Institute, that a lot of these stories out of theology had an actual factual origin. And what we hear in the stories is more of a theological spin on it, but these were extraterrestrials. So in other words, there were at different points in human history a god entity, or less an extraterrestrial portraying a god entity, either under a controlled state of consciousness. Maybe they had amnesia like we did, or maybe they were fully aware of their self. We don't know. But they portrayed these gods, and then that's where these religions came from, and also they also call them myths. So at some point, yeah, there probably, obviously was an Enki individual or someone who portrayed Enki over periods of time throughout human history, depending on how many times these religions were recycled. So we know that there is an Enki or more than one, perhaps, but in this case, you have a group of people in a cult, and a lot of people are being told the same thing. So in other words, when I was in there, I was friends with a girl named Sylvia, and she was from, I think, Ontario, Canada. It was London, Ontario, Canada. And she was told that she was Lilith. Now, there was other people who were told the same thing. It got to the point where new members would come in over a period of time, and they would say the real Lilith, number 55. And that's because there's 54 other Liliths that actually claim the real Lilith, or something that, like that. So when you were in the group, Bob, did you talk to other people that were being told that they were a reincarnation of other pagan gods as well?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't talk about, because I didn't know that. I didn't know how the gods will come. I was thinking that when the gods will come, they'll come in alien form. They will come with spaceships, and they will come down to Earth. I didn't think that they will come incarnated as human beings. Honestly, I didn't think that. Oh yeah, we're going to come as human beings, incarnated as human beings.
There is a story, though, that Maxine or Andrea Harrington talks about on the website, where she remembered living in Egypt, and her husband was the guardian that she was assigned. That was, I think it was, I remember the name of that. It was a male deity, I think an Astaroth or something, but it wasn't. I forget what it was, but yeah. So so there was some mention of that, of the gods incarnating is either in full form as a god or maybe human form. But anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to throw that in.
I did not read that.
Were you involved? Were you
Say,
involved in
say.
any spiritual warfare groups while you're in there where you got to interact with people in like a group? So like a
Well,
group contactee scenario?
no, I will not be in contact with anybody like physical in any form. I'll
Okay.
just ask questions on the forum in my country. Absolutely, maybe not at all on the American forum. I'll not ask questions in the American forum, but I'll ask questions in the forum of my country.
Right.
And the spiritual warfare that we needed to do at that time was the RTRs, the reverse Torah rituals. They started to appear like 2016, 2017. That's the time when the RTRs start to appear. And I did a little bit. I, I used to feel sick from those RTRs. I don't know how to explain. I'm not a Jewish person, but I don't know the Satanists that used to astral project to attack me because after 2019, 2020, after I talked about the things that I talked in online, what happened? The Satan ordered some Satanists to follow me around, to torture me.
Right.
They asked the Satanist, why are you torturing me? Because you don't care if I leave Satanism. You don't care for me. Why do you torture me? And he told me, we don't have a choice. He told me, the Satanist told me from my country, the Satanist from my country that is with the joy of Satan, told me we don't have a choice. Satan told us we torture you or we are abandoned if you don't choose to torture you.
And that's
He's going to
because
abandon.
they were convinced that you were Enlil. Right.
Yeah.
And now when I was in there was other people that were told they were Enlil as well. My question to you is do you have any memories, whether it be emotional based memories or cognitive memories of actually being Enlil? Because some people do, and you have to discern whether or not these are screen memories or these are actual real memories, because they can implant false memories in just as easy.
No, I don't remember my past life. Every time when I try to remember my past lives, the only thing that I will see will be this huge forest with huge trees on. That's all I see. I don't see anything other than that. I don't see any face, anybody. I don't remember any name. I'll, if I had any friends, I was like, where are my friends? I don't see them coming and helping me out. So I don't know if I'm Enlil. I did say to myself, if I done something wrong, I'm sorry to the people that I did wrong. If I was Enlil and I did wrong to people, I'm sorry. I did apologize even to saying like I'm sorry if I was like a crappy brother, because I don't know if I'm Enlil or not. But I say if I am, I don't know. But if I am, I'm really sorry. I told to myself,
Well, I don't think you need to be sorry about anything, and also too, I would never take the advice, or I would never take the word of someone who just told me that Satan told me this, or I got this from a pendulum or whatever it is, and I wouldn't take this information directly from an entity. I would certainly have to remember this and fully remember it to where I had no doubt in my mind. And this is where things get really dangerous, because they can convince you of something and then instill guilt in you and then just go to work on you. One of the things that they instilled a lot of guilt in me over was that I was told that you're in an engineered therapeutic lifetime, and they explain this whole scenario in regard to that, which is, it's an accurate description of something because it is a program. It's an extraterrestrial program of soul seeding into the human population for engineered therapeutic lifetimes. It kind of goes along with the starseeds coming here to heal themselves. But I was told that I was here at the expense of humanity, and that I was just as guilty as anybody else for exploiting them. And I felt horrible about it for years. And that was one of the ways that they instilled a lot of guilt in me. And I was sorry for that, which turned out that was a complete lie. So honestly, I wouldn't be sorry for something that you didn't do. And this is really about taking back the sovereignty of your soul and making and protecting yourself from this type of deceptions. So I just want to let you know that, and everybody else, and I'll let you go back and continue to tell your story. Are you okay, Bob? Because I know how this. I
Yeah,
know how
yeah,
hard this is.
I'm okay.
Are you okay, Bob? Because I know how this. I
Yeah,
know how
yeah,
hard this is.
I'm okay. No, I'm okay.
So if you need to take a
Uh,
break or anything, just let me know.
no, it's okay. It's okay. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about implants that I had on my body. The way that they shove an implant doesn't look like an implant. It more so, it looked like a living creature on my
Right?
body. I don't
They
know
can
how to
look like
explain.
they can look like a lot of things, inanimate objects, living. We had a lot of parasites like worms and grubs,
Yes, yes, yes,
things
yes.
like that.
Yes, I had a parasite, and I think around my neck that felt like an iguana, so to speak, or like a reptile that is also like some sort of a snake that coiled around my neck. Uh, will put behind my back. They will cut my back with something spiritually, not physically,
Right.
but spiritually with a device. I don't know what device was, but something that will cut and will create a wound in my soul, the wound in my soul, I guess, to parasitate me with these astral entities. They will put something that will block my third eye over my head. That will not like a device. They told me that it's like a device that doesn't allow me to have psychic abilities, no matter how hard I try to improve my chakras or meditate or anything like that. They don't allow me. If I try to meditate, my thoughts start to go crazy. If I try to meditate, music with melodies in my head start to uh, be put it on. Like I don't know. I start to
Oh, I
do
know what you're
void
talking about.
meditation. I
Yeah,
start to do void meditation, and it's like a song start to pop in my head, and I'm like, why?
that was
Why it's
something that
happening?
them starting to interrupt, but that's something that they do to us prior to making contact with the guardian that was supposed to have. Because like I said, it's an inverse of the white light religions or belief systems. So it's a demon that's your guardian instead of an angel. But adding in those sound effects that interrupted your meditation is one of the tactics that they use. They used to blow a whistle on me. I would be in meditation and all of a sudden I'd hear this loud whistle and it would, startle me, or I would hear like noises. And one time I heard an entity and I actually saw it. It was like a little creature and it flew away. And as it did, it expelled its energy and just completely vanished because it wasn't holding together. But they can turn on that psychic noise and they can turn it off because they're in control of you. And so they're creating this whole scenario for you to experience. I just want people to understand that. So what he's talking about is that what they're doing is creating an aversion to meditation. The goal of this group is a soul trap for anyone that's psychic to start with. They want to shut you down. How
Oh
you
yeah,
got there is really immaterial. It doesn't. You could be a MILAB. You could be somebody that's hasn't been hijacked, hasn't been abducted, but is there because they want you to go there. It's part of the Ibis program. They want to pull you in and they want to shut you down. And what they're doing with Bob is they're building an aversion to meditation to where he's going to feel that if he does it, they're going to sabotage him, and he's going to feel bad that other people have been able to do it and have less problems and go well beyond him. And he's going to feel like he's been singled out and punished. He's going to feel guilty. He's going to wonder what he's done. This is all part of psychological and emotional warfare. So anyway, go ahead, Bob.
uh, there were lots of attacks that happened to my life. I will have spirits that will burn my body with electric fire, electric blow fire, the way that the Jew of Satan will describe, but it's just energy that the way that it felt on my body is like it's burning me.
Right.
It's burning my body, but I was the only one that could feel the energy. My parents will not feel the energy around me. I was the only one that it was directed at me. So a device or a person or some Satanists, I don't know, but and also the Satanists told me that I am a dummy for training for other Satanists to train their psychic abilities. They
What
told me that they,
you mean to attack you? Is that what it is?
yes, to test their powers. You know, it's like mind manipulation, using energy to attack somebody, curses or something like that. They told me that I'm a dummy for training. You know, that I'm like right now used by the gods, so to speak, to train other Satanists in training their psychic abilities.
Right. You're
You know,
just a punching bag. You're a
yeah,
target.
yeah,
That's what they're saying.
yeah. I'm punching bag. Um, I was burned. I was attacked. I was between 2017 and 2020. I would have presence of spirits around me that it felt cold in the room, like some sort of a being that was cold, like will absorb all the heat in around and will remain just cold in the room,
Right.
you know. And I will have even like I don't know how to explain. I will have heat in my room, give it at the maximum level to see if this is my mind or if this is like really happening. And what I would observe is that this being will be around me, and it felt like a reptilian. I don't know how reptilian it felt. It didn't feel like Nordic or anything like that. It felt reptilian. I did have experience with other entities or spirits. I had it with a blob, so to speak, of energy that speak like a reptile, and it told me, "Do you want power? Do you want power? I bet you want power." You know, it's like tried to seduce me, and I was like terrified because I could like see the blobbish, darkish energy that was pulsating and floating in front of me, and I was like, didn't say anything. It did disappear and didn't came back to this day. I had another problem because I tried to meditate when I was little. I was like a teenager, and I tried to meditate, and I tried to stay like in a normal position to meditate, close my eyes, didn't think of anything, and then I would be disrupted. You know, my parents will walk around the front door of my room. They'll start to speak with one another, and I was like, if I will not meditate, they will not do that. Immediately when I put myself to meditate, that will happen. I will find
Right.
out years later that Satan didn't want me to meditate on my own. He wanted me to go through the G of Satan and to discover that on my own. Because he told me that in another lifetime, that is still this life, weirdly enough, um, I will go to a kind of like a parallel universe, so to speak, you know, or on another parallel life of mine when I made the choice of um, going to this person known as Rich 2154, or I don't know for sure his entire name on YouTube. I'll go to him and he'll tell me that I'm from this Anunnaki family. You know, I was in my past life an Anunnaki. I don't know how true that is because I never successfully got to any psychic to tell me anything.
Right.
So I don't buy necessarily this Anunnaki stuff.
You have to
And
remember this yourself. You really and that's a lesson for everybody listening to this. People go for psychic readings and so forth. You don't know if that's true, and what good is it if you can't remember it?
oh man, and don't start me with never remembering. I tried anything. I tried hypnosis. I tried to like meditate to remember my past life. It doesn't work. I mean, I see these people in the comment sections on these YouTube videos of hey, past life regressions, for example, and they say what's so easy. I remember that I was this person and that person. I was like, man, how do you people access that? I only see darkness in front of my eyes when I close my eyes. That's it. I don't see
Right.
anybody. I don't remember any name, any place, nothing. I don't remember anything. How do you guys remember that? Like, this is so hard to remember. I don't understand how some people have such an easy time remembering their past life. Like, bam, like that, immediately they remember with
That's
no
if they're
problems.
that's if they're really remembering. It could be false screen memories too, but and of course this makes you feel horrible because you're not, this isn't what you signed up for. And I was, I fully understand what you're talking about. I was there myself, and there's been a lot of other people in those situations. And as I broke free from the program, which turned out to be a joint ET military program, there were silver cords that I had to break free from. One was a silver life force cord to a clone, which was at White Sands, New Mexico, at the Dome, underneath the mountain range at the missile test range. But the only way to get access to any of this information about yourself, Bob, is that you have to go through a process of deprogramming, and then as that takes place, you ultimately you have to break free from the program, and that's the silver corded attachments. And then you can get to the point where you can defend yourself and get the implants out, because that's how this is done, really. You can pray, you can do all those things, you can go to the church, they put your hands on you, and they can even cleanse you with holy water. None of it's going to work, because you're dealing with something that has to have a hands-on solution. You can't rely on anybody else. You have to do it yourself, and with the help of others, if you can find people to help you, because it's very hard to find people who can help you, and the ones that have got their hands out with extravagant price tags on the help they're giving are usually not the ones who are going to be able to do this. And so it's a sad thing, but I just want you to know there is hope, and there's hope for other people out there too. And as we progress into this further, and as events begin to unfold and humanity is slowly pulled out of this prison, these things will be easier to obtain and easier to accomplish. So I'm here to help start that off, and there's plenty of us out here. So help is here, but it is hard to find. So I want you to know that I will do everything I can to help you. And but I'm still helping myself as well. I wish I was further along and had more solutions for you. But just talking about this is the start. That's where the healing begins. So I want you to continue to tell your story. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I wanted to talk about span of dreams with ATs contacting to my face. I dreamed about between 2017, 2020, more or so in 2017. I dreamed about 3 gray aliens. Weirdly enough, I didn't felt any animosity or any hatred from them, the way that the Joy of Satan describes the gray aliens being toward people. It's like the way that they look at me, they just observe me, It didn't feel like they wanted to harm me, or they wanted to attack me, or they wanted to beat me. They just look at me, and that's it. And that I remember that they look at me and I was looking at them, and that's it. It was no animosity between us. That was very bizarre dream that I had. Mm-hmm. I had another dream that was involving me being on a platform. There were trees around us. They were like in total with me of 8 people. We are all dressed like futuristic garments, like you'll see in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. We are ready for kind of like the way that pilots would look like, or people like on the Star Trek movies. We look like dressed like with suits like that the humans that wear the suits. Right. And in front of us, there was this being. Was look like the head was look like it was an armor. The way that I would describe was the color would be obsidian. Like that will be the color. Black obsidian will be the color of the armor. From head to from up to down will be black. We'll have white wings. The head will be in the form of an eagle. The hands and the torso will be that of a human. The legs of a human, and it looked like it gave us a mission of some sort. I don't remember the words that they were spoken into my dream, but I remember that my intention was to attack that person. After all the other people left, I was like ready to attack that person, and then the dream will stop. I had different dreams when I'm in prisons, or people attacking me, or people beating me. I had a dream when a couple, a man and a woman, will put me onto a chair, and they told me that that was to put a device in me, to do drills, spiritual drills into my head.
Right.
It's just so bad. I mean, all this stuff that happened to me, and most of them I don't even understand why. I mean, if you don't like me, you could just leave me alone. It's not likely I have any power or anything like that, you know. And I was
Oh,
like, I did apologize for my mistake. I did apologize. I tried the best of my ability. I don't understand a lot of things, and maybe for a long time I was thinking that I am alone in this, because most of the members will laugh at you when people ask, "Hey, what's happened to the people that are abandoned by Satan and his demons?" Nobody describes anything on the G of Satan. They only tell you you are just abandoned, and that's it. Nobody goes further. Nobody talks about anything. Everybody laughs at you. It's just horrible all over again. It's just
I know
bad.
what they're doing is they're trying to destroy you. One of the things that, well, let me ask you this, Bob.
Tell me.
Did you experience scenarios where they attempted to make you suicidal?
Oh, yes, I did. I did when I was in school, when I was between 5 and 8 grade. I was extremely suicidal, but I always had that in my soul, is that, you know what? If I resist this, it will get better. It will get
Right.
better. I need to do this for my mom and dad. I need to survive. I cannot do this to my mom and dad. But I was like extremely suicidal. I remember that I was with a knife around my heart, and tell myself, if I push this knife through my chest, the pain will be for an hour, but at least afterwards I feel no pain if I'm dead. But I never pushed that knife. I didn't commit suicide. I didn't cut my hands or my wrist with a knife or with a box cutter or anything like that. And I pushed through by luck. I was going with the flow, so to speak. But I don't think they tried to make me suicidal when they burned my life and they burned me physically. I cried many nights. I used to use an ointment for animals to go all over my body, because I didn't have for humans, and I give all over my body to just not concentrate on the pain
Right.
of the burnings. You know, it was all bad, and I didn't know who to ask for help. I mean, what am I supposed to do? To go on the G of Satan forums and tell them, you know what, guys, I am somebody that abandoned Satan. I have done all this, or all this happened to me. Does anybody has a solution for me? And nobody's going to answer. If they answer to you, they laugh at you, they curse you, they tell you to F off. They told you to leave, basically, and to suffer. And they are happy for your suffering.
That's because
And
these entities, these extraterrestrials are involved in this, are there to bring out the worst in people. They're not there to instill goodwill in people. Um, there's no joy in Satanism. I can tell you that. There's no joy in any of these military ET programs whatsoever. And I'm sure it's hard for people to comprehend why anyone would want to be associated with something like this, because when you get into it and you realize this is the nature of it, and it isn't until after you're into it and the door is locked behind you that you realize you screwed up, and it isn't your fault, because this was set into motion at a very young age for a lot of us. Now, there's all these
oh
people
yeah.
that stumble into the occult and so forth, and have a bad experience and get out of it. And sometimes you'll hear their stories, and religious-based programming and so forth. But we're dealing with something much worse than that. We're dealing with something that's literally a military extraterrestrial program, and the goal here is to well, the main goal is they're after people. They're actually targeting certain groups of people or certain individuals to come into this. And then once they get in there, they shut them down psychically. And what they did to us, to a lot of us, including myself, is they induced what I call past life emotional torture. And past life emotional memory torture is what it was. So, and that's why I asked you about the suicide aspect of it, because there was a long, I mean, for years I went through this, and so did others that I tried to maintain a correspondence with. Like I said, at some point, my story and my problems became too much for somebody else to endure because they were going through their own. So people would separate and not want to talk to each other. And I lost friends that were in that group because of this. And they were trying to literally push me and others as far as they could to commit suicide. And once we got to the brink of it, in many cases, in a few cases, the person would attempt it and then be rescued by these beings. They would prevent the overdose from killing the person. I know someone who tried to shoot themselves in the head with an Air Force. It was actually a handgun that was issued to them in the U.S. Air Force, and they were drunk and they tried repeatedly to commit suicide by putting the gun to their head and pulling the trigger, and they prevented the gun from going off. They would make it jam. I know a woman who took a large dose of pharmaceuticals that should have been fatal. Even half the amount she took should have killed her. She just woke up the next morning and felt groggy. But they didn't want you to commit suicide. They wanted to bring you to the brink of it and feed off the energy, and then study the way you responded. And so that was why I asked you about that. Was there anything after, like in later years, that they tried to do to you like that? Because a lot of times when they tell you you're Enlil or an extraterrestrial or whatever they tell you, they'll usually, instead of giving you cognitive memories to back it up, is you'll have deep, painful emotional memories that'll come through to the point where it's agonizing. Did they do anything like that to you?
No. They
Okay.
didn't give me any memories. They didn't give me anything. They told me that I had a wife and a daughter. They told me that they raped them, that some gods raped my daughter and my wife. They told me that we live in another dimension. When we go in this dimension, we go in these special pods that we... this was the same Satanist that I was talking about from my country that told me that. But these were told by the spirit around him, because there was a floating spirit around him that was telling him all of this, and it made themselves a little bit visible to just see them, but it was the same spirit that followed me around. And also they told me who was my guardian spirit. I forgot her name, but again, I'll tell another time. Again,
Okay.
it was a female.
Right.
I don't remember right now, but it was a female. They told me. They told me that I have a wife and a daughter. They told me that I had sons. They told me that they killed my sons. And I was like, whoa, that's bad. But I didn't have any emotional attachment. They told me that this is how I am as a spirit. They told me that when I was born as a spirit was at the end of a dead star, when a star died and millions of people died, I was born from the hopes and dreams of those people. I was born as a spirit. The psychic attack that they used to go against me psychologically was that they will say Jehovah, Yahweh constantly. And I was like, why I hear Yahweh? And the Satanist told me, that's your name. You're the God of the Jews. And I was like, how am I the God of the Jewish people? Makes no sense.
So that's another thing too, with the, and this is mainly the joy of Satan. I haven't seen this level of Nazism and anti-Semitism anywhere else.
Oh yeah.
But one thing that I want people to understand is, because since this is a Project Ibis joint military ET program, and that the secret space program does involve Nazis, it actually apparently started with the remnants of Adolf Hitler's regime. And so what you find is that in these programs, well, actually what you'll find with the Joy of Satan theology and everything that involves in it, it is literally as you could say, a microcosm of the SSP super soldier type programs, because there's Nazism, there's Satanism, obviously, there's sexual abuse, there's emotional, physical abuse. So I think if you really look at it with an open mind and the right pair of eyes, like I've been able to do after being a victim and looking back and realizing I was in these programs, is that I saw every element the joy of Satan either in a subtle or overt way, as I've seen in other people's testimony from these, joint military ET programs, as well as things that I can remember about myself being in them. So this is part of the allure here, because it's subconscious. These are like subliminal messages when you're being pulled into this cult, because it's drawing from things that are inside you that you can't remember, but at the subconscious level, they're having an effect on you. And because they're programming you, the effect is more pronounced. So when you get in there, it's just everything starts to make sense for a while, and it starts to click in your mind, and there's an emotional component to it. But that's part of the subconscious psychic programming that you're going through. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. And let me ask you a question, Bob. If your life, actually, if you never found the joy of Satan, where do you think you'd be? And also, if you never got involved in the occult, where do you think you'd be? And I just want to get your opinion of that. I mean, no, anyway, I'll just let you answer that.
Honestly, man, I think I would be in a better place, overall in a better place, considering where I am today. I'm not saying that right now I'm not in a good place. I'm in a good place right now. I don't have attacks. I don't have that anymore. But I'd have been in a better place. The way that Joy of Satan came into my life at that point, this was in 2016, was in a point that I decided for myself, you know what? At the beginning of the year of 2016, I decided I have lived a wrong life of being depressed, being down, being bullied, having bad in life, bad thoughts overall. I decided for myself, I want to change. I want to be good. I want to experience the other side of the fence when I'm happy every day, when I wake up with a smile on my face, when I'm not so grim and like, oh, another day, oh, another bad day. And I was like, no, what? And I start to be positive. And the worst thing is I decided to myself, I just want to be a good person. I just want to be a better person, and I want to do good to other people. The way that I decided for myself that is like, I want to be a better person. I want to do good to other people. And the Joy of Satan came into my life right when that happened. I will still read the website. I'll still be like, I don't really trust everything that is on the website. But there were certain things that they were talking about, like, for example, the bankers, the Jewish people as a whole behaving in a weird way.
Right.
Kind of that clicked with me, because when you look at it from a normal perspective, when you ask a Jewish person, they are extremely defensive about certain things. And you ask yourself, why are these people defensive in that way? And you start to question. In the same way, I start to question too. And kind of making a lot of sense about the stuff that you're talking about on the Joy of Satan, about exposed Christianity, exposing Islam, talking about the Jewish people and the New World Order. But these people were part of the New World Order to stop people from awakening all along. I didn't see that. I didn't have the foresight to see that. That was my mistake, honestly, on my part. But other people could see that was bullshit, and they were driven away by National Socialism or Nazism, how people call it. They will drive away from that place. I decided to be, as I said, I decided to be a better person in that year. So at the end of the year, I decided to become a Satanist. I hid that from my parents, because you are instructed by Maxine and by other members that if you are a teenager, you are supposed to hide that you became a Satanist from your parents.
Right.
You're not supposed to talk that with your parents or with anybody. You're supposed to hide that. You're supposed to hide your craft. You're not supposed to talk about this. You're supposed to behave normally and say that you're a Christian. They teach you how to infiltrate other places to spread Satanism, on the forums. I have read that all about.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's not really pleasant. I mean, if the message is true, why do you need to infiltrate other places? Isn't enough your message that will convince people to join you? You don't need to infiltrate any other place. You're just supposed to say, hey, let's have a conversation about this topic if you want to invite somebody that is opposed in their views to your views, and then if your views are true, people will see through will see that, hey, the views of this person are true. But again, why do you need infiltration in the first place?
All cults seem to function that way, and so that's the moral of that story. But yeah, that you touched upon something that I was hoping that you would, and that is that a lot of the themes in the Joy of Satan are accurate in regard to this attempt to create a new world order, a world government, a technocratic police state, a fascist state. That's all true. And that taps into something with a lot of us. I'm not here to put words in your mouth, because you have your own experiences and you're your own person. But for me and for a lot of us going in there, when I saw, because I had been doing research for years, I started looking into these subjects as a young child. I started looking into UFOs and paranormal when I was 6, because we had a book here at the house from National, what was it, I forget it, it was called Strange Stories and Amazing Facts. And I looked at I was really focused on Egypt and UFOs and anything to do with spirits and stuff. But as I did research, and I started to realize that this end time story that people talked about in fundamentalist Christianity about this world government was actually true. And there's a lot of those elements. There's a lot of, that's a big part of the Joy of Satan. Not so much theology, but the big sell to you is that it touches upon something inside you that you have to fight against. And it's a bait and switch, because here you are joining something that's being run by the very people and beings that you would normally oppose, but they're presenting it in such a way like, hey, you can make a difference. You can do something about this. You can stop this new world order. And for a lot of us, because this group is heavily targeted towards what I call the angelics. These are people that are very advanced spiritual beings that are incarnating here to carry out to disrupt the social order and to institute positive change. So this is a way of hijacking them and getting some of the most aggressive ones, because the most aggressive ones would be the ones that are here to engage in psychic warfare with the government and these negative ETs. And that's what I found about myself. And I found that to be the primary purpose of the Joy of Satan, was to target people like myself. And this is the same thing that they do with the Project Ibis and all of these different overlapping joint military ET programs. They're designed, as the super soldier told me from White Sands, we did this to you to preserve the continuity of government, not the United States, not that government, but this emerging new world order and this regime that is connected to these extraterrestrials. And so, the Joy of Satan, a lot of its themes and inside its theology is you're here to fight against this, and that the evil ones are in fact the ones masquerading as being of light, which is the what's behind the Christian religion and so on and so forth. When it's really, it's not like that. It's not black and white like that. The reality is that most of, if not all of our religions were given to us by ETs. And that's the reason why we're commanded to worship. These are the things that turn people off from Christianity as they get sucked into this type of belief system, is that, you're giving your energy away and you're not doing anything constructive. You're just waiting to be saved. And it doesn't resonate with us because we came here to do something. We had that connection with God before we came here and it was severed. And now we're trying to figure out who we are and why we're here. And this is a bait and switch, and they're pulling you in with this. And so from your perspective, when you got into the group, was that a big part of this? Because a lot of it, because they had, when I was a member, we would do group spiritual warfare exercises. Basically, we would engage in like these group exercises. Like, for example, they would go after Pat Robertson and different televangelists, and I think we did one where we attacked the Pope. But of course, nothing ever happened because we were basically shadow boxing with a straw man on the astral in our third eye, but it was having no real impact on the actual target, thankfully. And so because this was never about that. It was about getting those people who could see the evil in the world and knew who was responsible for it and wanted to do something about it. But now you're basically sitting in a high chair with a pacifier in your mouth and you're duct taped to the chair and you're powerless. You're at the mercy of these beings and they're providing the experience for you. So from your perspective, did you get into this? Was there an aspect where
No.
you felt like you were doing something positive? No, because you didn't.
Positive. I was thinking that I was do something positive when I was sent the link about exposed Christianity.
Right.
Because again, when you have Christianity the way that you have, and people that use Christianity like the evangelist or the Catholics or the Orthodox or people that they are just nasty and use God as a way to be nasty, it's kind of moving you away from Christianity, you know? It doesn't make you want to stay in. Because I was like, well, these bad people use this as a cover, as a shield to protect themselves. Why would I want to stay in this religion? And if you had bad experiences with other Christians as a Christian, will make you to move away from Christianity. I didn't really have bad experience with Christians in general. I just didn't put it that way. Not that I'll just put it that person is just a nasty person. I didn't make it a religious thing for me. So no, they didn't get me that. We didn't have war. I did see in the old post on the forums in my country about that they did all the curses or removing curses, but I didn't participate in that. No, I was for a short period of time a Satanist. I was like for 3-4 months. I was a Satanist, not for very long. I did read for more than a year and a half, I would say, on the forums. Maybe almost 2 years I was on the forums and on the website. I discovered that. I read it and studied. But no, I was not a Satanist for a long period of time. I was kind of terrified a little bit because everybody was telling you that if you want to meditate, you must dedicate to Satan. And I want to say to everybody right now that you don't need to dedicate to Satan, to use meditation, to do yoga, to do no entity is going to fucking attack you. Sorry to say the effort, but no entity is going to attack you in general. If you do meditation, you have bigger chances of attack if you do the dedication ritual than if you don't do the dedication ritual. I mean, overall, no, I didn't.
Well, did you have an opposition to the emerging New World Order? Was that a?
Yeah, I did have an opposition to emerging world order.
Yeah, that's what I was really focusing on, was that, because that was when you get involved in the joy of Satan, that's one of the key things. I mean, you literally think you're these people are going to actually do something about it. Yeah. And you feel like you want to be part of that. So that's part of the allure as well. And that taps into a subconscious thing, because a lot of us are here to do that. And if they can rope us into something like this and then shut us down psychically and put us in a life of hell and affect our health and our mental health, and that's what the whole program is. Can you talk about any type of negative health effects, that not just maybe what would have happened from the psychic attacks, but was there any chronic conditions or anything like that you had experienced either from like as a child that then later became exacerbated by this, or later came up? And just, I'm sort of rambling here, but have you had any negative health effects where they attacked your health and that where you could say for sure they did?
Any negative health effects? I would say that I grew up as a very fat child. I mean, I started to become overweight when I was like 9 or 10, and I kind of stayed overweight for a long period of time, even until I was 18. And when I was 18, I decided to lose weight, and I lost weight in like 3 or 4 months. I was extremely heavy weight, and I lost a lot of weight.
Was that the reason why you were picked on in school? Because that's often one of them. Because if you're different, they always pick something out of, okay.
It will be fat, and it will be that I didn't know how to integrate with the new kids, because I changed school. That was primary reason. I was the new kid in the class. So
Right.
that was one of the reason why people picked on me.
That
But
always happens.
I could understand I could understand like a week to pick on you, no, because you're the new kid. But for 4 years, man, for 4 years constantly to just torment me for no reason, and I did nothing to these people. I mean, if you don't want to talk to me, I don't have a problem. You leave me alone, I leave you alone, and that's it. And I respect their decision to not talk with me, to not wanting to play with me. You know what? I understand that at some point. I even understand it's clear that these people don't like me. They don't want to have anything to do with me. I even try to avoid playing with them when the sport teacher will force them to include me in the activities. And I was saying, no, 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 thank you, I don't want to. And the teacher will force them. And it's clear that they didn't want that. And I could see that as a child. I would not have minded if they would not have been so nasty towards me, because I don't believe that necessarily awful people as human beings, but the fact that they did that with no reasoning or for stupid reasoning, I mean, that's something that even today I'm like, an explanation I would wish to have from them,
Well,
at least.
I
At
can give
least,
you a little bit of an explanation that may be the case. I'm not saying it is. Um, Throughout my life, when things got bad in regard to being a targeted individual in a MILAB, which I wasn't aware of, I knew I was being targeted, but I wasn't sure by who. And I thought it was some kind of spiritual force, like the universe was against me in a way. And what I do know that because of these technologies that they have, which mainly it's comprised of transdimensional artificial intelligence, they can affect people and program them to do certain things around you. And if anybody studies targeted individuals, if you read, it's called Project Dreamcatcher, which is a series of books written by a scientist that was employed by the US government to develop these types of technologies where they can use directed energy against people as well as mind control. They can remotely mind control people. And they've had this technology for a long time because it has an extraterrestrial origin. And if you're in a situation where you're being targeted from the beginning and they want you to be in this cult or another cult like it, they can create a scenario. And this is where I refer to, this is an engineered lifetime is more or less what they were calling it in the program that I was in, where they engineer experiences for you to go through. So technically they can create the scenario that you're talking about and keep it going, because yes, it can happen as far as the length of time that you were abused in school by these people. But for the most part, it's a little bit unusual that it would go on that long. And, and that there was no intervention. I don't know if you tried to get help or not.
I did try to get help, and nobody was listening to me. The way that I did to survive in school, I was telling myself the way that you'll see in movies when a new prison inmate will go to prison, he will be like, don't make eye contact, don't smile, don't cry, don't say anything, just don't look directly into the eyes of other people, see on your own business, and don't interact with other people unless it's like necessary. And the way that they will see that, they will like to attack me constantly, and I was like trying to avoid them. I was trying to don't skits any smile or any sadness, do not cry in front of them. I did that mistake because I started crying at that one point in front of these people, and they will still try to pick on me with no mercy, man. I mean, the way that they look at me is like I was not even a human to them. I was just like a toy. Like, man, this guy is crying. That's what their face will describe towards me. No peak of sympathy whatsoever. And that taught me that in life, the good people suffer and the bad people win. And what I learned in life, what at least my brain understands, is that bad people will always win, one way or another. They always win. That's the sad reality. The bad people always somewhat win. That's
And
what I have seen and
that was
experienced.
also reinforced with your inability to gain success within the meditation and so forth, you saw other people who were nasty, mean-spirited individuals who were excelling well beyond what your abilities were. That was something that I have seen as well, and I've experienced this also in the disclosure community. It was something that I had to figure out. And what I realized is that this is all being done under a program, and that the nastier, or actually I would say it's not the nastier, but the more self-centered you are, the more you seem to be rewarded. And you see this in the New Age community as well, because you've got people out there that are talking about love and light, but yet they won't help anyone unless they're getting paid. And there's an argument to be made whether or not they're really helping them after they get paid. And you see some of the worst human beings literally just kind of reach that they get put on a pedestal, and people look up to them in large numbers. And then later on they turn out to be some of the biggest scumbags that you could ever hope to never meet. And there's quite a bit of them right now going around in the disclosure community, and it's all by design, because this is exactly what they want. They don't want to have a legitimate disclosure community. They want to have something that's just a cesspool, more or less. And and so this is a pattern that you're going to see in society as well. That's because this world has been tainted. It has been corrupted. And more or less what it really is, I mean, when you're separated from the creator, and I'm talking about the true creator, not the one that's depicted in, the Bible.
The source, about the source.
An angry, jealous God that destroys whole civilizations over something as meaningless as, you're not worshiping me enough. That sort of thing. Everyone who becomes a better person and continues to strive for that, to be a loving person, those qualities are not in them. They do not need their ego to be stroked. They do not need constant admiration. In fact, they're more or less repelled for that. If they're not doing something positive for others, they feel like they've let everyone down, including themselves. So what you have to look at is these ETs have engineered a reality that rewards negativity. It rewards being a bad person, and the good people get stomped on. And that's exactly that's the world that they wanted to create. And you see it exemplified when you have human organizations, especially ones that are highly manipulated, where you have people coming together to disclose information that the public needs to hear. But then we can't get our act together once we get there, because there's so many bad apples. And I just want you to know that you're on the right path, Bob, and what you're doing today is going to help a lot of people to hear this.
Thank you.
My sincere hope is that it opens the door for other people to find the courage to come forward and sit down with me, just like you have, and have a discussion like this and tell their story, because that's the first step in healing. So I just want you to know you've made a big first step, and I hope you find peace, and I'll be there to help you in any way that I can.
Thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about my childhood.
Sure, go ahead.
I was, this has nothing to do with the Joy of Satan, but it was one of the reasons that it attracted me to the Joy of Satan a little bit. I was into ancient Egypt. I was into aliens. And I used to watch this on Discovery Channel. I used to watch ancient Egypt and know all the deities from ancient Egypt, all the dynasties from ancient Egypt, all the pharaohs, the entire family tree. I would know about mummification. I'll know about the pyramids. I'll know about the Sphinx. I'll know about ancient Egypt eras. I also, on Discovery Channel, watch about alien stuff. I'll be mesmerized by the gray aliens and the reptilians. I would be mesmerized also about bugs, for example, when I was a child. This will be included ants, spiders, butterflies. I don't all sorts of bugs. I'll be interested even in reptiles like snakes or frogs or you know
I understand.
uh,
And we talked about this in our other discussion. For me, that was something that it seemed to be there. It seemed that the connection was subconscious. In fact, it has to do with
yeah,
my past existence and also being in these programs where you're interacting with, instead of a lizard, you're interacting with a lizard man. If you instead of interacting with a bug, it's a bug man. It's an actual a being that's highly intelligent that has a human-like personality, but they have a completely different body. And for me, that's where a lot of that stemmed from. It isn't just a recognition that these are all manifestations of the creator, and that there's in everything, even the most ugliest of creatures, there's some beauty and utility for for the way they look, and there's a purpose, and that we all are in
yeah.
this symbiotic relationship together, and it's a system. But so anyway, what would you like to? Is there anything else you'd like to elaborate on that? Like to say about it? Do you think
Uh,
that's maybe what it is, or is there something else?
no, I do think that we live in a some symbiotic relationship with one another. I mean, good, bad. It has to be an entertainment for the creator, I guess. When and movement in life, because if you don't have adversity in life, you don't move forward. You just stagnate.
Right.
I mean, you don't grow up without letting your older self to go to die off. You grow and your old self die. You grow and your old self dies. You don't remain the same person that you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You're always changing.
Right.
So,
You're always evolving in a sense, and hopefully you're going towards the positive.
oh yes, I hope so. 'Cause I'm tired of the negativity. I lived negativity for such a long period of time in my life that this is like ridiculous at this point. I mean, even I know that I didn't need to live certain things in my life that to experience to understand that certain things are bad and certain are good. I mean, and neither other people don't need to live this type of things or worse than I have or
Right. Now, when I talked to you before, you had an uncanny talent to be able to see the corrupting factors in our reality, such as money, for example, the need to be famous, need to be wealthy. You don't have any
I,
of those desires. You expressed to me that you knew that money was pretty much, and as a lot of people say, the root of evil, because it incentivizes us for the wrong reasons. Instead of coming
yeah.
together to help each other, people are coming together to get wealthy so they could buy more junk.
Yeah, well, you don't need to buy everything. You in life, you kind of have to ask yourself what you need, and if you truly need that thing in your life. When you buy a car, you need to ask yourself, well, what utility this car has for me as a
Right.
utility, and versus a person. A person has, as any human being, a utility, but you don't need to see people as utilities. People are people, and utilities are utilities. People are not utilities in the sense that you are not supposed to, when you see a person, to see them as nothing more than a utility, and the person in front of you doesn't even exist. It's like I see a person be like, how could I use this person in front of me? And says, hey, how could I help this person? Because if you help somebody, you're actually helping yourself too by helping
Right.
somebody in front of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're helping to co-create a positive reality that we could all enjoy to be part of. And when you're out in, when you're out in the workforce, you don't see that. Yeah, it's the opposite. It's
Oh,
what can I get from you? And when I'm done with you, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'll find
I
someone
just want to
else.
throw you on the curb. I'm just going to throw you on that corner. When I
Right.
don't need you, when I need you, I'm going to call you back. But f off before after that, after I use you. Yeah, I have experienced that even in the workforce where I live. I have experienced people like that that will pretty much talk bad about me to the bosses, to people around me, and I experienced that in life. So I'm used to that type of behavior against me since I was a child. I would say I would have that experiences. So to me, it's like, well, I had this experience, so I'm not amazed anymore.
Right. And the one thing that you don't want to do is to withdraw and to stop looking for the good people who are out there. And to inspire and to aspire to be one yourself, to be an agent of change. That takes courage, and you got to get to that point where you realize that you don't have a choice. You have to do this. The world needs to become a better place, and it starts from within. It starts in each and every one of us. It's not something that can happen external to us. And the one thing that I've experienced since I broke away from I would call it Project Ibis. There's Surrogate. There's a lot of it, with the umbrella programs of the U.S. government, the U.S. military, and these top secret programs. Is that once I broke the connection and I separated myself from the silver cords that were, for the most part, locking me into it, is that I began to have source experiences where I connected with God, and the whole reason I got out of this was because of God, because people were coming into my life to help me. There was 3 positive extraterrestrials who were doing it as well. And there were people here living in the flesh who were coming out of the woodwork to help me as well. And it was all guided by God in the first place. But once I started having those experiences with the source consciousness, it was pure love, and it's very transformative. It's not what people describe who were immersed in this new age movement and having daily contact with ETs. And I'm not going to pass judgment on everybody who's doing that, but I'm saying that, you can usually tell the people that are being hoodwinked, however you want to put it, deceived, is that they don't exhibit those transformative qualities. They do not, they're not able to do it. They're not connecting with God. They're connecting with artificial intelligence, transdimensional AI. And you can always tell by the way they behave. Ultimately, time reveals all. And when you are connecting with God, it's an incredibly transformative experience, and it's very healing. And it changes your priorities to where you don't see things like other people see them anymore. You don't see the importance of all these material possessions. You need things in your life to live and survive, and you appreciate those things because you need them. But you don't aspire to just constantly gather more stuff to fill the void that's there. You have something missing in your life, and it's the connection with God. And that loss, that lack thereof, manifests in many, many ways. And people try to fill it with drugs and alcohol. They shop, they buy things that are meaningless to them, and they just gather stuff. And ultimately, it leaves them empty. And that's where these entities come, and that's where they prey on you, because you're looking for something else, and they're there to provide something sinister that's wrapped in it has a nice wrapper to it. It's got a bow on it. It's colorful. It looks good. It's shiny, smells good, makes you feel good. But when you open it up, it's like the Pandora. It's Pandora's box, and it leaves you empty and unfulfilled. And I think that's really the problem here, and that's what's been done to humanity. The enemy of humanity is weak. In fact, if you were to put them on an even playing field with human beings, they would be lesser beings in that respect. They are afraid of the potential that the human race has. And they have to suppress people psychically. They have to keep them in the planetary consciousness simulation so that they can use them as livestock, as a natural resource. And the goal, obviously, is to put an end to that, and to put an end to that type of thing wherever it exists throughout existence itself. And that's the eternal struggle, because I think we talked about that in our last discussion, is why would God allow these things to exist? And it really comes down to, you need the positive and the negative. You need the light and the dark to discern one from the other. And without those two action potentials, you don't have any action. So it's our responsibility, because the world and the universe and the multiverse and all planes of existence, evil is not necessary. You're always going to have some difficulty in things and so forth, but evil isn't necessary. Evil is a mental illness. It's a disease. It's a spiritual disease. And so anyone who would say that don't fault the reptilians, not all of them are bad, of course, but don't fault the negative extraterrestrials for being negative. Don't fault these evil spiritual beings as being negative because they're created that way. No, they're not. We all have a conscious choice, and we can be good beings, we can be good people, or we can be bad ones. And there's no excuse for those who would say that I'm this way because I was created this way. It always gets me when somebody says, and they get ready to say something terribly racist and hateful, and yet they apologize beforehand and say, well, I was raised this way. And then they spew their hate as if that's some sort of way of excusing themselves. We have to take responsibility for ourselves, and it starts from within. So anyway, what else would you like to talk about? We're almost running out of time here, and like I said, we've got plenty of time to do other interviews.
Well, I wanted to see that this entity, the Satanist that was from the J of Satan, has told me that the beings that was with him told to the Satanist that I'm going to see what's going to happen to me in hell, like in Duat, the hell, the domain of Satan.
Would you like to explain what that place is? Because it comes from the Egyptian religion.
I have never seen Duat.
Okay.
Duat is basically the afterlife in the Egyptian mythology.
Correct.
Is the afterlife effectively the same way like Tartarus would be the afterlife for the Greeks.
Right, exactly.
So that is Duat. The Duat on the J of Satan, what they say, telling us that Duat is the domain of Satan, is home of Satan.
That's supposed to be in Orion as well, because that's what the Egyptian religion. That's why the three pyramids exemplify the three stars in Orion's belt, because they believe that their afterlife was in the constellation Orion, or in that direction in the night sky. And if you noticed, all the different megalithic structures will have a specific star cluster or star formation connected to it as part of the religion that the people followed, who were there when it was built and aided in its construction as the ETs built it for them.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, kind of that's it. I mean, if anything else that I have to say to the people before we leave will be that if you are an ex-member of the J of Satan, or even if you are an active member, if you had a bad experience or a good experience with this group, please come forward without being afraid. Even if for a little you could just talk, or you could just write to us, your experience. It's nothing wrong with that. You're not evil if you had a bad experience. You're not an evil person if you had a bad experience. You're not a weirdo. You're not a traitor. You're not a vile human being. And also you're not a bad person if you only had good experience with this group. You come forward and you could talk to us. You could talk to the world and tell your story without being afraid.
Absolutely agree, and there's nothing to be ashamed of that you found yourself in these particular groups. We're all out there seeking the truth, and ultimately, what we all need and what we desire is to be loved and accepted. And those people that find themselves in the joy of Satan, for the most part, are looking for the same thing and have not found it. And when they wind up there, in my case, it was something that I was pushed towards that as part of a military program, and I believe you were too. And it's quite obvious in what you've talked about with your testimony that that all arrows were literally pointing one direction for you, and that's where you found yourself. So, yeah, I'd also like to reinforce what he just said, that, if you've been involved with these, and not just the Joy of Satan, but any of these cult groups that are out there, whether it be New Age or whether it be Satanism or Luciferianism or any of these other types of belief systems, and you'd like to come forward and tell your story, please contact me through my channel. You can find my email address, which is tajncontactee@voicesoforion.com. You can find that on my About page on my channel. You can also reach me through my Telegram group, and there's a link to my Telegram group on my main channel page at the upper right-hand corner. You can click on that, and be happy to talk to you and spend time with you, and to work this out. Because what I really need is for people like Bob to come forward and share their stories, positive or negative, about what happened to you in the Joy of Satan virtual temple complex, as well as other groups that are similar to that, whether it be, like I said, of the light or the dark, depending on what theme it is. Because all of this, from my research and my personal memories and my own experiences with others, is that this is part of a joint Draco ET military program. And the purpose of it is to hijack the true intuitive awakening that is taking place across the planet, which is a result of the reduction of the transdimensional AI planetary consciousness simulation. And from my experiences and so forth, what is taking place on this planet is a liberation of humanity, but it's going in phases, and it's being conducted by positive extraterrestrials that are under a angelic hierarchy that are working to liberate humanity. Of course, they would be under the direction of God. And, through God, all things are possible. So even if these beings portray themselves as all powerful, and you feel that your life is in a hopeless state because you can't break free from them because they've got more power than you can imagine, just keep in mind that power is an illusion. They're actually quite weak, and that there is hope for you. And it starts by asking for help and seeking it out. And it really comes down to, you have to make that decision. You have to shed the programming. You have to start with a clean slate. And you have to realize that you have the innate power in yourself to free yourself. And they're only going to be in control of you as long as you believe that you can't break free from them. And, if you can find the strength within yourself to not show them fear or exhibit fear or experience at all, you'll be a lot better off, because they feed off of it. And, to them, if they can induce fear in you, which is what they tried to do to me over and over again, if they can do that, then they can obtain a greater level of control over you. So, anyway, I just wanted to thank you, Bob, for joining me this morning. And, I just want you to know that, and everybody else, that you're not alone in this, and there are people here who can help you, and there is an effort to save everybody. For those of us who find that they're in these programs where their souls have been hijacked, I want you to know that there is an effort, and it's going to be successful, to liberate you from these. This isn't the way it's going to continue to stay. What's being done to humanity is coming to an end, and proof of that is the fact that we're all beginning to wake up and tell our stories. And, for those of you who wonder what's behind that or who's behind that, it's really God is behind it. So I get a little emotional and, kind of choked up when I talk about this stuff, but that's what's happening. That's why I keep clearing my throat. But anyway, yeah, that's what I've got to say today, is there anything else you'd like to share, Bob, before we end this?
Well, I want to say thank you for having me on, and thank you for believing in me and in my story, because for a long time I was believing that I'm alone. Nobody had any resemblance of anything that I gotten through. Like they I mean, how could I explain that to people? Nobody's believing me, explain to them that I was with this satanical group, that they also believe in aliens. It's hard to explain that to people that they have not been into this cult or in other places that talk about New Age, aliens, and had these experiences. If they don't have these experiences, it's hard for them to understand you. And I want to say that there are people out there that understand you, And there are people out there that they are ready to listen to your story. Don't be afraid telling your story, good or bad, how your story is. Don't be afraid to tell your story, man, or woman, or whoever you are. Don't be afraid to tell your story. People need to hear your story. Don't let these beings make you cave in and not allowing you to telling your story. Go and tell your story. Make a YouTube channel if it's necessary and tell your story.
Yeah, that's what I had to do. And I just want to finish this off by saying that the reception that I've gotten from going public in the disclosure community has been almost 90% negative. Most of the big name shows won't touch me. They don't want to hear anything I've got to say. And what I'm doing right now is an effort to change that, because people need to know what's going on out there. And it's not just abductions. It's not just your typical extraterrestrial contact with UFO sightings. This goes far deeper than that. It taps into the origin of religion and the origin of our species, as well as what, most people in this community know that. And it's really surprising the lack of receptivity that I've gotten. But through your help, Bob, and others who would come forward, we can open up an entire new area of research. And that's what I'm hoping to do. Actually, I'm not hoping to be part of that. What I'm hoping to do is plant the seeds to start that, so that it'll grow on its own. This has never been about me. It's about everybody. And I want to thank you, Bob, for being part of that. And you're the first one, which makes you very courageous. And I can't give you, words cannot describe how I feel about you for doing this. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and my being.
Me too, man.
For stepping up and showing the courage and conviction to do this. And with that, I want to have, I just want to say to everybody out there listening to this, thank you for listening. Hopefully there'll be more interviews, especially with Bob and others. And, together we can change the world. Individually, we can't do anything. So it's about love and unity. And with that, I bid you all a farewell, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.
Have a blessed life.